back. You're watching the 80 Money Show with me, Kavita Thakliyal. India's UPI has ushered in a revolution on the digital payment space, but with rising UPI transactions, frauds linked to UPI are also rising dangerously. As per the National Cybercrime Reporting Portal, UPI fraud complaints rose by a stunning 34% in the first 2 quarters last year. Let's bring on board Dileep Seinberg, founder and CEO of MuffinPay, and Rahul Tyagi, co-founder Safe Security, to understand the modus operandi of these frauds and what you can do to protect your hard-earned money. Hi and good evening. Welcome Dileep and Rahul. Dileep, first question to you. We are talking about UPI, which means we're talking about real-time money transfer between two banks using a VPA. And we know this has been adopted and in fact increasingly being adopted in the country. At the same time, we are seeing scams related to UPI also on a rise. How exactly are these scams done? What's the modus operandi?
So there are multiple ways people are doing this scam via UPI. So I think first of all, we need to understand whatever technologies we develop, it comes down to the human psychology. So the two factors are very important, like fear and greed. These are the two important things where all the crimes happen. So I'll tell you like a few of the cases how this fraud happens. So first of all, when you receive the money, the fraud people ask you to enter the UPI, which is never the case. When you receive the money, you never need to enter the UPI. Second thing, where people can clone your QR code and then they can send you the fake IDs in a similar way, like where you want to transfer your funds. So this is another way people do the fraud. Third thing, where people are doing the cloning of the SIM and then they get the OTP. This is how the other way of fraud is happening in the UPI. And on the greed side, sometimes you get the offers, lucrative offers to get a high return. Let's say you're getting 2x of the returns, or you have got the lottery, and they ask you to enter the PIN in their application. So this is how the UPI frauds happen when people get into this fear or greed things.
Exactly. We will definitely tell our viewers how not to get scammed. But then, Rahul, there's also one very common way which these scamsters are using, which is by creating a fake emergency situation. What exactly is that? Rahul?
Thank you, Kavita. Thanks for the invite. Absolutely. So I think the emergency situation happens only so every criminal, they want to have a to make sure that you will go for a call to action kind of a situation. For example, you will be receiving an SMS that your Paytm, your phone pay, or any kind of UPI powered wallet has been debited with 3,000 rupees or 5,000 rupees, and to know where it has been debited, or well, even it is credited, can you click on this link? So now, instead of going through the application, most of the individuals want to click on that link, and that's where the fraud happens. So one is this example, and second is sometimes they send you a UPI based application link, like UPI just announced a 5,000 deposit in your account under PM's this yojana. To do this, click on this link and download the updated version of UPI based Bheem or some other application. Through that, they will make you download a APK file, and once you download that APK file, then the remote access of your device can be in other people's hands. So it based on most of the individuals, but in most of the cases we have seen, especially for the senior citizens, is two type of scams. One, to create an emergency situation of a money which is being deposited in your account or maybe extracted from your account, and it shows as an SMS, as an alert to the user. And to know whether the money is there or not, the person was forced to click on the link. And in most of the situations, people do not go to the application to check any kind of a wallet to check whether the money has been deposited or has been extracted. So they click on the link, and that's where the scam happens.
Rahul, my next question is to you, because I remember this platform was launched by NPCI in 2016, and it seems that you've been working closely at that time with NPCI when Bheem UPI rollout was about to happen, if I'm not wrong. When we're talking about the formation stage, what kind of security wall were included, or the kind of scams you're talking about now, were they not anticipated earlier when these things were being formed? Rahul?
This question is to
Yeah,
me,
yeah,
Kavita.
yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah. So apology, I'm not well today a little bit.
No
so
problem.
so absolutely. I think yes. So at that time, definitely we got the privilege to had the first hands on the source code of the application, and we did the due diligence and the security of the application for the country. And if you see the funny thing here, till today, UPI as an platform or as an architecture application was never breached. Most of the attacks are which are happening are basically on the social media social engineering attacks, where the users are tricked to perform a certain action which results in losing the money from the customer. But from the application point of view, if you see, as an application, what is required to give the security of a user, it's already there. UPI, for example, Beam application, it's the only application having a three level of security layer. One is the your pin code. When you open the application, you need to put a pin code, and then when you do the UPI payment, then again you need to fill the pin code of your UPI. And third is your hardware based detection, your MAC address of your mobile. So they are very rare wallets who are having this layer of security embedded into the system. So as we say that UPI has never thought about these type of scams, because these scams are not a technology related scams. If you see, these are kind of awareness problem which users tricked into to do something. And unfortunately we can't blame fortunately we cannot blame UPI for that, because at the end of the day, from a technology point of view, they have given everything to secure a user. The only thing which is lacking is how to use the application or all the applications carefully, so that they will not be scammed under these type of scenarios. And I think it's a huge responsibility for all the mobile wallet companies, be it Paytm, be it PhonePe, be it anyone. I don't see that they are doing enough. They are doing good, but that's not enough to really reach the masses to ensure and tell the users how to securely use the UPI payment. And the biggest challenge is, once the fraud is happened, then it's mostly a mess for a user. And now the government is getting strict on these scenarios, but still it is, I think, a long way to go from the mobile companies, wallet companies, to coordinate with the UPI to get that funding back once the money is lost by the user.
Dileep, now help me understand, because we are talking about specifically UPI scam. Now, if we talk about the entire ambit of this cyber security frauds and financial frauds, especially, how much of these are actually UPI scams? Because we also know that millions of users are actually opting on doing money transfer and various kind of financial services using UPI.
So primarily, if you see the fraud cases, so in the last quarter, the India registered almost like 1.4 lakh cases for the frauds that happened via UPI. So as he correctly mentioned, that mostly it's not about the technology; it's about the awareness. Awareness. The people don't know, how to use the UPI properly. So they just get into the scam. They just get into the fraud basically. So these are the basic parameters where the frauds are happening these days.
Now, let's talk about how not to get scammed. So, your first tip, Dileep.
First step would be when you're receiving the money, you don't need to enter your UPI PIN. So it's always when you send the money, then you need to enter the PIN. So you need to take care of that part.
Care of your UPI pin, and you don't have to insert a pin when you are receiving the money. Rahul.
So my request for everyone is that it's not an endorsement, but I really encourage everyone to use Beam as your first application for the payments wherever you are using if you want to use the UPI, and never use your PIN code similar with your UPI PIN code. Like when you open the application, I have seen that most of the first level of authentication of that is a 4-digit kind of a PIN code, which is on every mobile payment application. People use the similar PIN code with their UPI PIN code. So if some criminal gets the one PIN code, they know the UPI PIN code will be similar. So it's 1234 to open the application, and 1234 to send the payment also. So those PIN code has to be different. And and the last thing is they can do is ensure that the mobile number and the email address which is registered with your all your payment and UPI based applications, there should be two-factor authentication protected. Then I think you will be able to secure the things in a very good manner.
Two-factor authentication even for UPI payments, Rahul?
Yes.
Okay, how can we do that?
So whenever let's take an example, whenever UPI itself uses two-factor authentication to verify the transaction. Whenever you are sending the transaction, that's a payment, right? That's a PIN code. It's required. One PIN code is something which is for the application. When you open the Beam application, it asks you for the PIN code. And once you are sending the payment, then it asks you for the second level of authentication. That is the PIN code to send the request. Most people get confused that these PIN codes are similar, but one is the first level of authentication is to open the application, and second is to send the payment whenever you are sending the payment. It's not similar to the OTP based type of a payment, which is the traditional way of two-factor authentication, but it is basically based on the PIN based second factor authentication, which being used in Beam.
Dileep, your next tip?
Yes. So second important thing I think we need to understand, we should not be using the transaction on public Wi-Fi's or probably the cyber cafes, because this is very important part. You should be using your private network, either the telecom network or probably you should be doing the transaction on your home Wi-Fi or the private Wi-Fi. So this is a very important part. This is where the hacks happen, because generally these people get the access to the public Wi-Fi network, not on the private side. And beside that, if you're getting any calls from the government side, or probably from the for the job offer, or probably for the financial transaction, you should never be sharing your screen with them, because nobody asks you to share the screen. This is how they access your application, be it Beam or be it any private application. This is how they access to your application, and then they access the PIN code as well, and the fraud happens. So we should be very careful about not sharing the screen with anybody.
What about using random websites and having a UPI transaction from there?
Well, random website, Kavita, basically, I most of the newcomers who are entrepreneurs and starting their own ventures, definitely they will be integrating some kind of payment platform into their websites, right? So when we say the new website which are there, the only thing we need to ensure that the website is authenticated. Authentication in a manner like, are they using their own payment gateway, or are they using a Razorpay or some Paytm's third party payment system which is there or not. The real problem happens especially for the Android user, which I have seen when they want to download any kind of a UPI based application. It's very difficult for Play Store and Google to track the fake applications. So instead of downloading the genuine application, most of the people download the fake UPI based applications. And once they install that, then they will register with their number, they will share their PIN code, and so on and so forth for that. So when you are registering on any website, when you're doing the payment on the website, just ensure that the website belongs to a company. And especially when you're downloading any application from Play Store, which is a UPI based application, in their description, please see whether that application belongs to a company or an individual. And when you see an individual, you will see a Gmail address or a Yahoo email address as an owner of the application. So there is not a company's email address and the company's website associated with that application, which is being launched and using the UPI for the payments. So I think that would be the good tip for users to when before they are downloading any UPI based application.
Last question, Dileep, what about your damage control? Now, let's assume that someone is a victim, someone has got scammed. What can they do? Can they get their money back?
It's really hard to get your money back, because there is no provision from the RBI side. Also, you can make a complaint, but you won't be able to get your money back, because these scams basically happens in a very systematic way. So it's really hard to get your money back.
So I think I can add into it,
Sure.
Kavita, yeah. So I think the users, the maximum a user can do is, as you are a victim, or as you became a victim of a scam like this, then immediately you need to go to a website known as cybercrime.gov.in. This is the website which is launched by the government of India, where you can report it. And once you report this, you need to send as information as you can about the scam, how it happens, all the links, all the screenshots if you have. Within 72 hours, they will assign an inquiry officer who belongs to the law enforcement, and then they will call you, and then they will start the investigation. Second thing you need to do is you need to inform your bank immediately. And every bank has now a new helpline department which takes care of UPI based frauds, which are not traditional credit card based frauds and all. And then you need to report that similar to them. Third thing you need to do is, which works most of the time, sometimes emails are being ignored by the banks. And again, because it's kind of in sequence the way it comes to the customer success. The third thing you need to do is that immediately you need to tag all the helpline Twitter handles of that bank or the application, like a Paytm or PhonePe or whatever the wallet you are using and you being scammed. There I have seen that users are getting responses quickly. At least you will get a first level of response that we have registered your complaint and we'll get back to you as soon as possible, which is very, very slow when it comes to the email communication, traditional way of email communication, which is there. And the last thing is, in case you want to report it through a mobile phone, then you need to report to RBI immediately. So I hope you have seen that ad RBI कहता है. So if you report the ad, if you report to RBI with their email address, I forgot the email address and the handle, but there is one handle which is there, and once you report to that, then it's becomes the responsibility of the bank by the RBI to ensure that the payment is being received by the user if he is being scammed. And at least in 80 to 90% cases, if the amount is below 5 lakh rupees, I have seen that the amount has been given by the bank within at least 10 to 15 days to the user. So these are the 3 steps every person can do once they become a victim of these type of scams.
All right, that was a lot in-depth information given to our viewers. Thank you so much, Dileep and Rahul, for being on the show for this today.